Hello everyone, it's Yoko Kelly. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to teach you about a scientific approach to competitive shopping. Today's video is about a systematic approach to competitive shopping, which is a critical skill that will serve you throughout your fashion design career. Now, whether you're building your first collection or analyzing market trends for an established brand, the same process can be applied to inspirational shopping. Simply gather the same information I'm going to ask you to gather and visit my other YouTube videos on how to decide if you have an inspiration that will carry a collection. Okay, so after 29 years in fashion merchandising and design, I can tell you that understanding retail strategy separates designers who succeed from those who struggle. This isn't about personal shopping or casual browsing. This is about shopping with intention, with purpose, and with a trained eye that transforms a store visit into a valuable market intel. Now, with these skills, you will not need to wait for your buyers to get on the phone to see what's selling in their stores or for their report. And they oftentimes will report about your competition. So let's begin with the foundation of any good competitive shopping strategy. Before you step into any store, you need clarity about what you're researching. Select 2 or 3 direct competitors, stores that operate at your target price point and serve your customer demographic. Then choose 2 or 3 aspirational boutiques or retailers that inspire you, that push boundaries, that represent where you want your design aesthetic to come from or to evolve to. Now, consistency matters here. Visit these locations weekly or bi-monthly because fashion moves quickly, as you know, and sporadic visits won't reveal the patterns you need to identify. So if you're conducting this research online exclusively, you'll sacrifice some of the tactile understanding, but you can still analyze promotional strategies, pricing architecture, and inventory rotation. And I'll address digital competitive shopping in another video. Now, before we dive into the store itself, I want to clarify what I mean about collection-based retail. For today's demonstration, I'm using Zara as my case study. You can apply this methodology to collection-driven retailing or item-driven retailing. So when I reference a collection, I'm defining it as a curated group of garments designed around a unified theme. Whether it's color, silhouette, fashion moves quickly and sporadic visits won't reveal the patterns you'll need to identify. So if you're conducting this research online exclusively, you'll sacrifice some of the tactile understanding, but you can still analyze promotional strategies, pricing architecture, and inventory rotation. And I'll address the digital competitive shopping in another video. Now, before we dive into the store itself, I want to clarify what I mean when I talk about collection-based retail. So for today's demonstration, I'm using Zara as my case study. Although you can apply this methodology to any collection-driven retailer or item-driven retailer. When I reference collection, I'm describing a curated group of garments designed around a theme. Whether it's color, silhouette, an emotional narrative, it's created to express a cohesive seasonal story. So within Zara's merchandise offering, I identified at least 7 or 8 distinct collections operating simultaneously in their store. Okay, so you've chosen your stores and you understand what you're looking for. Now let's talk about your first impression when you walk through those doors. Research confirms that visual merchandising profoundly influences the consumer behavior. According to a recent study, attractive displays can increase foot traffic up to 30% and improve customer retention. Now, retailers invest heavily in creating environments that trigger emotional responses and guide purchasing decisions. When you enter any store or land on a homepage, immediately assess the ambiance. What's the decor aesthetic? Is it minimal and architectural? Is it vintage inspired, or is it coastal and relaxed? Notice little things like music selection, the ambient scent, the mannequin styling, the lighting design, and even the temperature. These elements aren't accidental. They're actually carefully orchestrated to create a specific emotional state for the customer. Now, Zara's entrance featured a sand-filled courtyard installed with sparse architectural plantings. It's decidedly minimalist, intellectual, and almost gallery-like. The music was sophisticated and understated, and the lighting was like a dusky ambiance, not dark, not bright. It's like right at that moment, just before evening. And the overall mood created like soothing, contemplative, subtly suggesting like I was gonna maybe get ready to go out for the evening. So after you've taken in the ambience, I want you to try something that I call squinting for clues. And literally, that means narrowing your eyes and observing the entrance display. What silhouettes and colors dominate when you do that? What does the lighting draw your attention to? This technique reveals the visual hierarchy retailers create to guide a customer focus. So at Zara's entrance, I observed like a luxurious fur collar coat over dark trousers, brown trousers to the left, and a black menswear inspired sleeveless jacket over an asymmetrical bias cut dress with eyelash trim at the hem just to my right. And then directly ahead through the courtyard installation, I saw a wall of lingerie that captured my attention. So squinting at the broader merchandise presentation, I identified a clear directional story. Earthy autumn tones, rich textures with wool, fur, leather, suede, corduroy, and denim. Structured tailoring mixed with the sensuality of eyelash lace details, like on the dress. And the combination of these bohemian details with the knits and tailored silhouettes created visual interest and suggested multiple ways to wear it. So here's something critical that every designer needs to understand about how retailers organize their physical space. Most retailers employ what the industry calls racetracking. It's a deliberate pathway that guides customers past new arrivals and impulse purchases. Now, the racetrack layout encourages customers to travel through the store, allowing them to visit everything on the path. But these pathways are not necessarily what... Here's another piece of information that you should know as a fashion design student or recent graduate. The merchandise positioned at the entrance isn't necessarily the best-selling product. These are attention getters, pieces selected for visual impact, designed to draw you into the retail environment. They may be too expensive for the average customer, or too bold color-wise, or too directional stylistically, and that's on purpose. Their purpose is engagement, not immediate conversion. At Zara, the lingerie wall and the two statement mannequins served for that function. They were visual anchors that got my attention and invited me to explore further. So once you understand the spatial strategy, then the real work begins. You move into this space and you engage directly with the merchandise. Okay, you touch everything. How does the fabric feel? What's the hand quality like? The weight, the construction. And then you create outfits mentally or physically using pieces from the collection. Does the assortment make outfit creation easy, or are there obvious gaps, missing basics, or lacking transitional pieces, insufficient color coordination? Okay, as a designer, you're going to note all these points, and then also look at the prices. If you're comp shopping, ask yourself, could I produce this garment at this price point for my target customer, or could I achieve the same aesthetic at a lower cost by simplifying the construction, or substituting fabric, or eliminating unnecessary trim? And then most critically, count the inventory and document the number of pieces per style, per color. Quantitative data becomes invaluable when you return in 1 to 2 weeks and you track the inventory movement and identify what's selling. The research demonstrates that visual merchandising positively influences your customers' buying behavior and leads to immediate purchase. So by understanding how retailers position product and which items receive premium placement, you can gain the insight into the merchandising priorities and ultimately what resonates with your shared target customer. Now let me explain why tracking merchandise over time is where this process becomes truly powerful. Entrance presentations typically feature the most recent arrivals or freshly released goods. So as merchandise ages without selling, retailers systematically move it towards the back of the store. Eventually, it ends up on the sale racks. So by tracking this progression weekly or bi-weekly, you develop your predictive capabilities. You're using your left brain and you'll recognize patterns. Which colors don't sell, which silhouettes move quickly, which price points move quickly, versus what's lingering there and moves towards the back of the store. So the science of competitive shopping is when you analyze your store visits systematically and you recognize the patterns that emerge. You begin predicting sales, the sales performances of your own collection and your competition. And you remove guesswork from the design process and replace it with data-informed decision-making. Will help you design your next collection, right? So let me bring this all together and talk to you about why this matters for your career. For fashion design students and recent graduates entering an intensely competitive industry, the analytical approach to retail research provides a tremendous advantage. Fashion merchandising success depends on understanding not just the aesthetic trends, but retail psychology, inventory management, pricing strategy, and subtle environmental factors that influence purchasing decisions. So whether you're developing your fashion portfolio, planning your first independent collection, or preparing for industry interviews, demonstrating this level of market awareness will set you apart. Employers, buyers, and investors want designers who understand the complete fashion business ecosystem. Not just the creative process, but the commercial realities that determine success or failure. So make competitive shopping a disciplined practice. Treat every store visit like field research. Document your observations, track the changes over time, build a library of successful merchandising strategies. And this systematic approach to fashion and the research will inform your collection development, sharpen your design instinct, and accelerate your professional growth. The most successful designers aren't just creative, they're informed, analytical, and strategically minded. They understand their market because they study it relentlessly. That's the competitive edge I want you to develop, and that's what systematic competitive shopping delivers, okay? So thank you for watching, and if no one's told you today that they believe in you, I believe in you. Namaste. See you in my next video.